Hello, everybody. Welcome to our July sales webinar. My name is Andrew Albers, account executive here at CDI. I'm going to be your host, and thank you so much for attending today. On today's agenda, we're going to be essentially, before I do that, let's cover a couple of housekeeping items here. As usual, everybody is on mute, so no need to ask any questions live. Just put those questions into the question box towards the end of the webinar. I will pause to look at questions and answer those as they come in. If I can't get to any questions you all have, they will also be, you can also submit them through the survey you get at the end, and I'll make sure to follow up with you on a one-on-one basis after the conclusion of the webinar. And also slides and screenshots are available upon request, so no need to take any notes. And the session is also being recorded as always, and that video is going to be uploaded to our CDI YouTube library where you can view it at a later time or share with other attendees that couldn't potentially attend today. So with that out of the way, let's go ahead and talk about the agenda for today. So today I have a number of Laserfiche forms and workflow processes that I wanted to share with you all. So leveraging those Laserfiche advanced capabilities that you all can leverage internally in your organization to help you streamline your processes, be more efficient, and really just take advantage of Laserfiche as much as possible. So the three processes I'm showing today are leveraging Laserfiche workflow, Laserfiche forms, and also our very awesome Docusign integration. So I'm going to be focusing first on automating a contracts process integrated with our Docusign and Laserfiche integration. Then I'll show you our internal NDA request and submission process, also integrated with Docusign. Really cool little process. And then finally, we'll have a quick auto-file workflow demo in a governmental organization, specifically a city. I know we have potentially some government clients on the webinar here, so we want to cover a more specific workflow for government use. And then we'll take those questions, and towards the end, we'll also cover CDI and Laserfiche resources for you. Okay, so just so you have an idea of what licensing is required to automate processes through Laserfiche, and specifically as far as what I'm showing today, what you would need to do that is essentially the big component is the Laserfiche workflow engine. This is an add-on to legacy platforms, which really not many people are on anymore. Workflow is included with the self-hosted Avante and Rio platforms. I feel like a lot of clients are on Avante or Rio at this point. So you have workflow included. For the newer licensed systems, either a self-hosted or a cloud-based Laserfiche solution. Laserfiche workflow is included on both the professional and business tiers. For Forms Professional, same idea there. It's an available option on your legacy platforms. However, it is also an option on Avante and Rio systems to add Forms Professional to those systems. Forms Essential is actually included on Avante and Rio, but it is pretty limited. So Forms Professional is definitely recommended. And again, that is an optional add-on on those systems. Forms Professional is included on Laserfiche self-hosted subscription and cloud systems, as long as you are on the professional or business tier. And then our Laserfiche and Docusign integration. This is an integration that CDI built. So we've built that integration from scratch. It's available from us, and it's an add-on to all of your Laserfiche platforms that are available, as long as they have the workflow component, because that is required for the Docusign integration to function. And good news, it is now also available for our Laserfiche cloud customers, which is great. Okay, so let's go ahead and get into the demo here today. All right, first demo on the agenda is going to be the contract request process. So essentially what I'm leveraging here is Laserfiche Forms, Laserfiche Workflow, and then also our Docusign integration. This process, though, is also leveraging records management because it is able to apply a retention schedule to the contract once it's filed back into the Laserfiche repository. So that's an additional component that we're leveraging here in the Laserfiche toolbox. So this process is going to start through a Laserfiche form. You can see my internal forms landing dashboard, essentially, where we have a list of various forms processes. So this is a dashboard of something you can leverage in your organization internally for the various Laserfiche forms processes that you may want to utilize. This can also be public facing too. So Laserfiche Forms can also be made public facing for any publicly accessible forms that need to be filled out as part of your business process for your organization. But in my case here, I'm focusing on an internal contracts process. So we'll kick this off through Laserfiche Forms. We'll open up our Laserfiche form here. And again, this is live, built out through a Laserfiche. Easy to configure. If you want a deeper dive into the way these forms are configured, that is something we covered in our consulting webinars, and also a lot of that is available on our YouTube channel as well. But essentially, this is a sample contract request form. So in this process, essentially, I'm pretending I am in a specific department in our company and I want to purchase something, and that purchase requires a contract. So I internally need to submit a contract request, right, where it needs to get submitted, like what do we want to buy, what's the vendor we want to work with, who internally needs to then review and approve this contract. So all of those things are built into this form and the workflow behind it that routes it to those correct people in the process, right? So here we have our Laserfiche form, and I can start filling this out here. And Laserfiche is already kind of helping me along because it can obviously do lookups, right? I logged into Laserfiche, obviously, so it knows my name, knows my email address, can look up my department, can even look up my position within the company. So any metadata in Laserfiche or other system, third-party system that may be connected to Laserfiche, specifically Laserfiche Forms, we can go ahead and bring in information from those systems and use that as part of our forms process, which is really neat. So obviously, the system also knows who I work for, and then we can go ahead and put in our additional contact information. So I'll just add myself here. Now we can also fill in our contract, like what do we want to buy? Let's go ahead and buy some new laptops. I don't know, why not? We have drop downs here for various things within the form itself based on what we're buying. So we can do drop down lists for you all as well. The contract budget field, this can have logic built into it. For example, let's say you're a city, right? Maybe you have a signing authority up to 10,000, but anything over that needs to go to the city manager, and anything over another threshold maybe needs to be reviewed by city council. So we can build this logic into this form of where to route this form for review based on a specific dollar amount here. So that logic can be built into that form as well. Okay, here in this section, this is where we're going to fill out who the vendor is that we're going to be buying something from, right? So we can onboard a new vendor. This is going to create a new folder series in Laserfiche for us dynamically, right? Adding that new vendor in there, creating the folder in Laserfiche and any subfolders as they are needed. But we can also do a lookup. Since Forms is part of a Laserfiche system, it can do lookups into our Laserfiche repository. And we can look up into our vendor list that we already have a relationship with, because all of these companies have folders in Laserfiche. So we already know they are one of our vendors here, right? So we can select the vendor and just add this contract into that current vendor's folder. However, in my case here, I'm going to onboard a new vendor. We'll just call it Andrew's Laptops. I know, very creative. Here we have a field that does other cool lookups, right? This is an SIC code type field. We're basically just showing when you select something within this field here, dynamically it's populating what that metadata in this field stands for. In this case, the SIC code number. It does a lookup into a database and lets us know, right? So like if I change it to another SIC code, it's going to do a lookup and give us that information. So we can do lookups from Laserfiche Forms into those other systems as well, just to make filling out these forms more efficient for internal users and also perhaps for public users, maybe if this was a public form, right? Now we have a calendar for our contract period. We can set our effective date and our expiration date. So there's a neat little drop down. We can select our date. Maybe you want to go a year out. And this is important because this then lets Laserfiche know what the contract period is. And since Laserfiche has that automated workflow capability, we can have the system monitor these expiration dates and let us know perhaps 30 days, 40 days, or whatever that time is before the expiration date of a specific contract, and let us know automatically, hey, you know, these contracts are coming up for renewal. You may want to do some reviews or further internal approvals before you renew this contract. So that can all be automated through the Laserfiche workflow engine. Also, what we're doing with this form, we're using this metadata in this form to populate a Word document, right? So once I hit submit here, what happens behind the scenes, Laserfiche is tightly integrated with Microsoft Office, specifically Microsoft Word. So what it's going to do, it's going to take this metadata that we just filled out and push it into a Word document. So I can also tell it what else to add in that Word document, which is our contract document. So perhaps I want to up the insurance for this specific contract. We can go ahead and do that here. Maybe I want to add the NDA document to the contract. I can go ahead and add that here. We can have additional selections here for other sections that may need to be added to a specific contract here as well. We can also upload anything here that will travel along with this document as it's being routed internally for review and approval. So perhaps we may already have a quote or some kind of an estimate from a vendor. We can go ahead and attach that here. You can do drag and drop uploads, or you can just navigate to a specific document. Everybody knows how to do that. So once we have that all filled out, we can go ahead and hit submit, and then we'll let the magic of Laserfiche do a lot of our legwork for us behind the scenes. So a few things are going to happen behind the scenes. That Microsoft Word document is being pre-populated with our metadata from this form. And then also our first step in the review approval process is going to be notified that a new contract request form submission has been submitted, and that user can then take an action on reviewing and approving it and sending it to that next step. Also behind the scenes, there are email notifications being set. So with Laserfiche, as part of a business process, you can have email notifications, right? These email notifications can go to anybody involved in within this specific process. So if I go ahead and navigate over to my Outlook, you'll notice I got an email notification letting me know that a new form has been submitted for this specific contract request. You even get a nice little link, and you can go directly into that form submission to review it and approve it. If you have the Laserfiche mobile app, this is really cool, right? You don't have to be in the office. You can actually be out, you know, taking a walk or whatever. As long as you have an internet connection, you have the Laserfiche mobile app, you'll get your email notification, and then you can take the, you can click the notification and access the form itself directly from the Laserfiche mobile app to be able to review it and approve it while traveling or whatever else you may be doing. So clicking this link live here, this takes me back into Laserfiche Forms, and we're going to be able to view it and approve this process here. So let's go ahead and do that next. All right. Also here, we have our action history in Laserfiche Forms, right? So let me just drag this out of the way here. Put that over here. So in Laserfiche Forms, we have metrics, we have an action history, and we can report on these metrics. So we know exactly when this process was started and who started it. We have those metrics, and we know where this currently is in the process. We know exactly who needs to review it, who needs to approve it. So with Laserfiche Forms, there's never any question as far as, hey, like, where's this contract internally? Who's looking at it? Who's reviewing it? Who else needs to take action on it? You have those metrics here, and this is all fully reportable as well. All right, so this is the first step in the review process. You can see that the form has been submitted, and then what we can do here is we can actually go into that contract folder and open up Laserfiche and just kind of see that Laserfiche did in fact create a new folder for us in the Laserfiche repository, right, for Andrew's laptops. It creates that folder structure. It starts importing documents as part of this process. So we already have our form in there, and we have that Word document that I'm going to show you next in there already filed in Laserfiche automatically, which is really neat. We can also view that contract document itself. So this is where I mentioned with that Word integration, we were able to populate a Word document with the metadata from the form itself. So we'll open up Microsoft Word here. I'll give you a quick preview of what that output from Laserfiche to Word looks like. So this is another time saver, right? I had Laserfiche essentially populate my contract document. I didn't have to go in there and manually fill out the contract with the metadata, like the vendor name, what we're buying, and so on and so forth. Laserfiche did that for me automatically and dynamically. So let's give this a second here to load up. All right, perfect. So there it is. Everything in red is the metadata from the actual Laserfiche form, but you can see it's pretty neat, right? It puts in the metadata into the contract where it needs to go. Even that insurance information I wanted to change got modified within the contract. And then that NDA I also wanted to be added to the contract got added here. Now, with Laserfiche, we also have version control and version history, right? So as this is being changed and reviewed both internally and externally, all of those changes are being tracked, right? So we can enforce version control and we can see exactly who changed what and what the reason was for that change, right? So you have that capability in Laserfiche with tracking changes and tracking that history. I'm not going to do that as part of this process. I just wanted to show you what that document looks like. So let's go ahead and send this form on to the next step. So with that in Laserfiche Forms, you have options at the bottom for the next step, right? You even have like a little comment box here. If you wanted to leave a comment for the next person or whatever, you can go ahead and do that. In my case, I just have draft updated. It sends it to the next step. Obviously, your process can be completely different, and that logic can be built into this form, customized to your specific process. This is not the way you have to do your contracts in Laserfiche. This is just an example kind of a hypothetical contract process. So you'll notice as it went to the next step, our action history got updated. In this case, it went to our legal department. So this is our legal review process now. Whoever is doing our legal review internally has those same functions here. They can view the contract folder, right? That gets them into the Laserfiche repository. They can also view the actual contract document from this link here. They did also get an email notification. So as I mentioned, those email notifications are being sent consistently to our people in the process. So we're not going to review anything here, make any changes. We're just going to say simply it's been approved by legal. Send it on to the next step. Again, you'll notice action history gets updated. So in our hypothetical process here, now it goes to our departmental manager, right? And our departmental manager can go ahead and approve this as well. So now that concludes the process from within Laserfiche Forms. Now what happens next is this is where the CDI Docusign and Laserfiche integration takes over, right? Because our contract is approved now, but we do want to get signatures on that contract. So what happens with our Docusign integration, Laserfiche automatically sends that request into Docusign. I don't have to manually log into the Docusign website, manually upload the document itself, fill out the signing template. That's all done for us behind the scenes automatically, right? So if I go to my inbox here, there were additional emails sent now for that signature piece, right? So this is where our Docusign integration is doing a lot of that legwork for us. It's sending our Docusign requests to both our internal person, our departmental manager, and then also to our vendor for signatures, right? So those two notifications were sent. Let's go ahead and sign this document live. I'm sure most of you all have used Docusign before. If not, it's a very easy signing solution. You literally are told where to read and where to sign. So you can just click start here and it takes you to where you need to either initial or sign. So this is actually our internal signer doing this. So we also here want to maybe initial, like, okay, we verified the insurance here. So we'll adopt an initial for that. And then we're going to go ahead and sign this document here. Very simple, click and sign. That's all you got to do. Click finish and you're done. Now what Laserfiche is doing behind the scenes, it's listening for Docusign to tell it what to do next. Well, it knows that also our second party, our actual vendor, also needs to sign. So if I go to that second email link, we can go ahead and review that document. Now we're the vendor. So this is our external signature. Docusign is obviously a very secure platform. This is why you'd want to use Docusign, in fact, for external signatures. You want to make sure who is signing is in fact who they are, who they say they are, and that they in fact should be signing this document. And I'll talk more about the security certificate in Laserfiche after this process completes, but that same process follows here. Our vendor is going to be able to sign. Just click and sign. Click and sign again. All right. Here we go. So now with the integration, Laserfiche is listening and it's going to notice that this document has been signed through Docusign by both parties. So next step, it's going to let the system know, or it's going to send the signed documents back into our Laserfiche repository, into the correct folders for us. There's also an email notification that gets sent out with the actual signed PDFs copy, right? So this is probably an email that gets sent to the vendor so they have their own fully executed copy in PDF format. But for our internal use, as I said, everything gets filed back into Laserfiche automatically. So that's kind of the beauty of the solution here. So if I go over to my procurement folder here, I'll just need to make sure I refresh here. Let's see if the document has been processed. So it's still currently a contract in process. So what is happening behind the scenes, Laserfiche is still waiting on Docusign to send the signed contracts back into the system. But at least you'll see here what's happening kind of live, right? So that folder for our new vendor and our new contract was created here. So that's here. I'll show you what we have here currently while we wait for those other documents to arrive. We have that form that we filled out on the front end. So this was our internal form where we requested this contract. We do have that stored in Laserfiche. You can have a copy of that. But more importantly, all of the metadata is now populated in our Laserfiche template. So automatically the system applies the contract template. It automatically fills out the department, the contract number. That's important, right? Because then you can go back and start running searches based on this information in these templates. Maybe you know the contract number, you can run a quick search for this contract number and find this contract within seconds. So that's stored in Laserfiche. If I go back here, we also have the Word document that's stored here. Oh, and as you can see, more documents have arrived, right? So now we have the signed contract here as well. So if I go and refresh this here, I'll show you what happened behind the scenes here. So previously, we were in the contracts in process folder, so you'll notice that Andrew's laptop folder is no longer here. What the system does, it moves it into our active contracts folder. So this is where we manage all of our vendors, right? So Andrew's laptops vendor has its own folder here. That's its main folder. And then we go by year. So we did this contract for 2025. And then we have what the contract name is, and then the contract number in our folder name. So the system's automatically creating all of this for us, right? So there's a big time savings there. We don't have to go to Laserfiche, do this manually. Now we have all the good stuff here as well. So we have that signed copy of the contract. It's the PDF document, so we can preview that in Laserfiche. Again, all of our metadata is correctly populated. We can even import in the Docusign envelope ID as part of our field in the contract template. You can also see that the document has been initialed and signed. So we have all of that information here, but this is now also a record. So I mentioned that we can track records retention for contracts. This may be relevant to you. So under our records tab here, make this a little bit wider, the system automatically applies our records retention lifecycle for contracts, right? So what it's telling us, this is the filing date, that's today, and it's eligible for destruction in 1 year, right? Actually 1 month, what am I talking about? 1 month, yeah, I have the retention schedule set at 1 month. Obviously you could set it at 7 years, 3 years, or whatever, and then the disposition in this case is a destruction. So that can be defined in Laserfiche, and then it can automatically apply that to all of your records or documents as they're imported into Laserfiche in this case with this contract. So that's kind of cool here. We also have the certificate of completion from Docusign. So this is something Docusign sends you for every signature process. It does put the information also in the template itself. The Docusign envelope ID is here, but you have a report actually showing you, who signed is in fact who they say they were. It even tracks IP addresses, all of the timestamps as well. So this is something that would hold up in court for sure. So you have that filed into Laserfiche. We have the unsigned contract here as well. This is our Word document. So you have all of those revisions on that document. If there were any, you can also review that in Laserfiche. But yeah, everything is back in Laserfiche in the correct folder that it needs to be. And then what you're able to do is track retention on this, right? So maybe at 7 years, Laserfiche can send you an email, hey, all of these contracts are now ready for disposition. Also, Laserfiche Workflow can monitor the expiration dates of the contract. So essentially what it can do, if I go to the contract here, it can monitor specific fields, right? So like maybe you're gonna tell it, hey, I wanna know 30 days before the next expiration date, let me know when contracts are coming up for renewal, because I want to review them, and then it can send you a report of all of those contracts that are coming up for renewal automatically. This is also useful for tracking insurance certificates with Laserfiche and Workflow. I've seen a lot of cities use it that way, or government agencies that usually have to have a lot of insurance for various things. So this is a good way of tracking those insurance expirations. But yeah, everything is in Laserfiche. Also with the records retention, I did want to show, so here we can see the retention schedule being applied, but it's currently not eligible for destruction. Well, next month, 8/29/2025, I want to show you what that looks like here. You'll get a nice little green box that allows you to destroy this record. So if I go to Laserfiche and I run a search, so if you're using Laserfiche Web Access, this is the thin client here. You have a records management tab here if you have the records management module. And then here you can run a simple search for all of your records that are eligible for disposition. Run a search. I have one that's eligible for destruction. So if I highlight that, you'll notice now that this record obviously has passed its retention by over, a year or whatever. Now we have that green box here, and we can go ahead and destroy this record from within Laserfiche. So that's how that works. That was a demo specific to a contracts process. So next, I wanted to show you a couple quicker demos, but also very useful potentially for you internally. Let me go ahead and make sure I have the right thing open here. Close out some of these windows for us. I do need to go to our internal landing page. So the next demo, it's going to be an NDA request process. This is a non-disclosure agreement. So we obviously work with a lot of different companies, and some of us require an NDA. So rather than having that process fully manual, we decided, hey, we use Laserfiche internally. We have an awesome Docusign integration. Why not automate it with Laserfiche and Docusign? So internally, I have an NDA form Simple little Laserfiche form. It's got a little drop down for today's date with a calendar, so I can select that date. We can do lookups into Laserfiche. So if I select my name, I can again look up my title and my email. If I select another CDI employee, right, it's going to change that information here. So basically what this form is doing, it is very simple, but you guys may be interested in it for your own use case, right? So basically it's going to send an NDA request through the Docusign integration to whoever we're trying to work with, and that requires that NDA. So it sends one copy over to the company we're trying to work with, and then also one copy internally to our president to sign. Once both parties sign, everything gets filed into Laserfiche into their client folder, and then both parties get notified when the NDA is signed. So there's never any question like, hey, did they sign the NDA? Oh, did the president sign the NDA? No, you know exactly when it was signed and when we can move forward with the project. So let's just run a quick sample of this here. I'll just call it webinar test because this is a live demo. It does go to our president, so let's just call it webinar test so he doesn't actually try to sign it. I'm gonna just put in my name here. Fill this out really quickly. Actually, this field is for the company we're working with here. So contact title, president, that's fine. Contact email, I'll just send it to my email so I do get the notification for the DocuSign signature. All right, just put in a quick address here, not too important. But yeah, same idea here. It processes through Laserfiche Forms and workflow. Workflow instructs DocuSign to send that request electronically, both internally and externally to the company we're trying to get an NDA from. So if I go to my email client here, I do get a couple email notifications here. Since I'm the person on both, right? I'll get a copy of the request. But same idea here. And again, this is a live form in production, so I can't obviously sign as our president, but I just wanted to show you what that process looks like. It's the same idea as the contract form. You're guided on where to sign that document here. So once I click sign here, it's going to wait until also our president signs, and then it's going to file it into Laserfiche into the client folder. But again, we were able to take the metadata from the Laserfiche form and automatically populate our NDA document. So if you had a more complex document, right, this may be a time saver where Laserfiche form is pre-filling it for you, right? In my case, it's fairly simple, but we still found value in doing our NDAs this way to automate that process and know exactly when it's in place, fully signed. Yeah, so but once you hit finish, the Docusign integration is going to wait for our president to sign. Once our president signs, it gets filed into the client folder in Laserfiche. I unfortunately can't show you our live client folder for obvious reasons, but it gets put in there, and then each party gets notified with an email when the NDA is signed, and then also can get a live copy sent to them, or the company we're working with can get that live copy. So again, this is just a quick example of what Laserfiche Forms, workflow, and our CDI integration can do. Not earth-shattering, but it could potentially be a time-saving feature for you all. Let's look at our final demo here. So this is going to be a simple Laserfiche autofile workflow. For that, I'm going to switch over to our Laserfiche client here. Make this screen full screen here. So I'm sure there are some government agencies on the phone, perhaps somebody from a city. So I did want to show what we have for Laserfiche autofile workflow, where it can save you some time as you are importing or scanning new documents into Laserfiche, and you want to have it automatically send that document to the correct folder in Laserfiche without you having to go there and make that folder first. It can dynamically generate that folder for you and file our record into that folder. And it can also apply the records retention properties automatically based on the record type. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to navigate over to an internal, our incoming scans folder here. So there is a workflow running here behind the scenes. It's going to monitor this folder for any new document as it arrives in this folder. So whether it's from a drag and drop process, like I'm going to show, whether it's from an actual physical scanning process, right? Laserfiche allows you to scan. I could scan directly into this folder. You could also have import agent bring documents into this folder automatically. So those are documents that are coming, maybe someone scanning from a copier printer device, one of those big copier devices. Those generally don't scan directly to Laserfiche. They will scan to a folder on the network, and then we can have Laserfiche import agent bring it into an incoming scans folder such as this, and then we can process it further. So I'm going to just do a drag and drop. You'll notice I have this randomly named PDF here. I'll do a drag and drop here. What I do need to do here is assign the template to it. So I know this is a city clerk document. I also know that what I'm importing in are our minutes for our council meeting. We have a little drop down calendar you could use for your document date. That could potentially be the meeting date as well. We can have a separate field for meeting date. So that's fine. And then all we do is click OK here, and we'll let our workflow then move this document and process it, rename it, and apply that records retention there for us automatically. So once I click refresh here, it should move out of here at some point. At some point. All right, come on, Laserfiche Cloud, don't fail me now. There it goes. All right, perfect. Now, so that's been moved and processed by the Laserfiche workflow. Now, if I go to our City Council folder under our, what was it? We did a minute, so it would be under our council meeting files. I told it to put my council meeting files by year, so obviously I have to go to 2025, and then I wanted by meeting date. So the one today is, what is that, July 29th? So open that up. And there is that document, and you'll notice what it did. It renamed it, right? This is the original name here, generic name. And then it renames it per our naming conventions. But more importantly, it applies our records properties automatically. So our records retention schedule is defined in Laserfiche. And I told it for my council meeting files, set the retention schedule at 3 years and then destroy. So at 3 years, I am going to get an email notification letting me know, hey, this record is ready for disposition. In this case, it is a destruction. It also automatically can set our cutoff instructions in Laserfiche. If you don't know what cutoff is, that's essentially making a record read only in Laserfiche, right? It can still be viewed in Laserfiche. It just cannot be modified or altered. No new pages can be added or any changes or edits can be made. So cutoff instructions can be also automatically applied in Laserfiche. So this is a very simple auto file workflow, but this can be set up for various document types for various departments. They can all have their incoming scans folder. Just help people get documents and records into Laserfiche, rename them, put them in the correct folders, apply retention properties if they are part of a record. So quick little demo. I did want to show you all a quick behind the scenes look of how that's kind of configured. That's generally not what we do in these webinars. If you want a deeper dive, kind of a technical dive, that's what our consulting webinars are for. So I would suggest those, but I'll give you a quick look of what the workflow designer looks like. So I'm using Laserfiche Cloud here. This is where we can manage all of our workflows in the system. So I'll open up the workflow designer. You have a list of all the workflows running in your system. If I go down to the one that we just showed, I'll show you what that looks like here in the designer. This is the City Clerk auto file workflow here. So this is actually where you would build out a workflow. Once it's built out, this is where you can see what it does. If any changes need to be made, any actions need to be added, this is where you would do that. In the left pane, we have this awesome little toolbox. And then if you want to add that activity to this workflow, like maybe you want to apply a stamp in the process somewhere, right? You can just literally take it and tell it to apply a stamp after this action here. So it's a simple drag and drop. Then you configure it in the right pane here as far as what to do with the stamp, how that's configured, and other things. So it's all drag and drop. Basically what that workflow did, it retrieved field values. Basically it listened to what I put into that template field, right? Like it's the city clerk, it's the minute. So it does that, it listens for that. Then it makes a decision based on that information. It lets the system know what to do with that document or record. Then it's going to move it to the correct folder, right? That July 2025 folder. If that folder doesn't exist, it's going to create that folder. And then also it sets that retention schedule for us, sets those cutoff instructions, sets the filing date, and then the workflow ends. So this is, a quick little workflow. It's very popular. A lot of our clients use these types of workflows. We build them out for any new clients to help them with their system, but also these tools are in your system. And once you kind of get a feel for it, it's not that hard to create these workflows. A lot of it it's drag and drop. There's not a lot of coding. There's really no coding or programming unless you do want to script something custom, which you can do. But a lot of these tools are available here in our toolbox. You just drag and drop and then configure here in the workflow designer. So that concludes the live webinar today. I hope that was helpful. Let me just go over back to the PowerPoint here. And let's take any questions. If there are any, I don't see any questions. So if you do have questions, put them in the survey at the end, and then I'll make sure to answer those one-on-one basis. If you want to see more demos, our YouTube library has a lot of various Laserfiche demos. So speaking of YouTube channel, here are some of our other CDI resources. We have our CDI client portal. This is for our customers. You can access that client portal there, submit support tickets through it, but also our internal resources. There's how-to guides, white papers. You can actually schedule various things there as well. You can sign up for our free training Tuesday. So we provide free Laserfiche training to our customers every other Tuesday. You can sign up for that. CDI YouTube library, there's a link to that there as well. Our CDI blog, monthly webinar link, you know what those are. Obviously, you signed up for this one. You can also sign up for our newsletter on that link as well. So we have a lot of resources. The YouTube library is awesome. I'm sure most of you all know about it by now. But yeah, free training Tuesday is also really awesome. For if you're not a CDI client, you may want to consider joining us. We'll give you your users free training every other Tuesday. Laserfiche resources on screen. Laserfiche does have a great answers page. So that's kind of like their forum where you can interact with other users. Even Laserfiche developers ask very technical questions, so that's available there. Marketplace, that's where some of our Laserfiche's integrations and custom processes that they resell are available. Getting started guides, and then their training courses are available on their website as well. And that's it. Here's my contact info. Did want to thank everybody for joining today's webinar. Hope it was helpful. And thank you again, and we'll see you in the next one.